I'm going to walk you through your second major essay, the rhetorical analysis of an advertisement. So I'm going to jump right over here into our Blackboard site and start walking you through what you will need to think about as you start working on this. Okay, so when you're on Blackboard, you'll want to scroll down. You can see that this is our beginning of Module 2 here, and we're getting into our rhetorical analysis of an ad. This is week 5, obviously. And so you'll notice you can go here and there's the rhetorical analysis of an ad assignment. And of course, this video is housed there, but let's take a look at that together and I'll kind of point out some important things. So first things first, the basics. This is going to be 2 to 3 full pages. You're going to have 3 credible sources minimum that you're going to quote, paraphrase, and cite that supports your thesis and your analysis. And so just to clarify here, 2 of those sources will be the essays that we've studied, and one of those sources can actually be your advertisement that you're quoting. So keep that in mind. There's the learning outcomes for you to take a look at. The purpose of this, and I'm going to jump down to why we're really doing this. So, you know, we see all these advertisements every day, whether they're signs, billboards online, on websites, streaming music or video sites, you name it, TV, radio. But the effect of all these advertisements that we are constantly seeing and hearing, we don't really, we're not always aware of how these advertisements are put together. The way that they're structured to impact us is largely invisible. So the purpose of this assignment is to help make that invisible reality visible. So that's the point there. And so let's jump into the assignment here. You're going to choose an advertisement to analyze. I'd recommend choosing a video advertisement. There's more to discuss there. However, you're open. You could analyze any advertisement. So that's up to you. That's just a recommendation there. So your analysis is going to include a detailed discussion of how the ad uses rhetoric to persuade. And do watch that What is Rhetorical Analysis video. It does a great job of explaining the basics of a rhetorical analysis and how you're going to analyze the rhetorical situation, the context of the ad, the audience, and you're going to get into what choices does the advertisement make, and what effect does that have on their audience, whether it's effective or not. So that's important to look at as you get started. We're going to go here on this guide. This will help you a lot too. And you'll recognize this. We've had assignments working with this earlier. So this is going to give you the elements to discuss. And matter of fact, we'll jump right into it. But the main things here, we're going to see structure. You're going to analyze the structure, the dominant impressions of the ad, the 5 W's, the appeals, the rhetoric, and you can also reference your rhetorical triangle assignment that we did during week 1. That may be helpful as well. Language, images, and stereotypes. So one thing, and before we jump into those, this guide here, remember the central question of your rhetorical analysis is going to be, how does the writer or the creator of the ad use language, aka the text of the ad, and that could be any choices that they're making in that advertisement, whether it be images, whether it be you know, their structure of the ad, whether it could be sound, you name it. But how do they use that and make those choices to reach their intended audience? So that will be your guiding thesis there. So and we talked about this, but this is worth repeating. In your analysis, remember to paraphrase, quote, and cite from, and again, this is going to be 2 essays that we've studied, and you'll choose from 2, although we've read 3, and you want to make sure that there's 3 sources there, but remember, one of them can be your advertisement. Always do introduce, integrate, and cite your quotes. That's really important. Okay, you'll follow MLA format like normal. Let's take a look at this guide one more time. And as this is loading, this guide here, this does not mean you have to follow this specifically for your organization, But if you do notice any of these things going on, those would be great things to focus on for your rhetorical analysis, because these are things that advertisements typically, this is the rhetoric of advertisements. So you will want to keep an eye out for that. The hidden structure, we've looked at that. Do you see this structure? And if so, get into it and describe how they do it. How does this ad get the audience's attention? How do they get the audience to trust them? And then you analyze whether that's effective or not. What are the dominant impressions? Focus on that. Analyze those details and the choices that are made there. The 4 W's: who's it aimed at? What's being advertised? Focus on that. The 15 basic appeals, don't feel like you need to get into all these, but keep your eyes open for which appeals they are making there. Usually there's at least 1 or 2 of those that are going to be made. So you want to analyze if they're using those appeals, how, and how effective are they at reaching their audience. Okay, and rhetoric, of course, you want to keep in mind, how is your advertisement using logos, using pathos, using ethos? How are they building credibility? How are they evoking an emotion in their audience? How are they using logic to be convincing and to be persuasive? So consider that. Here's some more details to think about. And of course, language. We've talked a lot about this. Remember some of these words. Some of these words are worth looking out for. If you see any of these words, you'll want to focus in on some analysis on how they're being used. Images are important. Take a look at the images, especially if it's a visual ad, and what they're doing with those images. And that important idea about analysis in general, analysis is taking the whole and breaking it down into its parts. So that breaking down these images very specifically and what they're doing and why is going to be really critical. And then lastly, how do you see stereotypes being used? And folks, that is the long and short of the assignment there. And you'll kind of see, of course, you have resources here for MLA to help you out there. And you'll see of course, our first year writing rubric is going to be used because this is our major essay.